Curiosity killed the cat. Fortunately, in the story I'm about to tell, no felines were harmed. As for humans, I can't make any guarantees. Recently, I was contacted by an acquaintance who turned out to be the proverbial cat. To protect his identity, let's call him Tim. He's an ordinary 16-year-old schoolboy, not a criminal, not a hacker, not a genius. A typical teenager with a hefty dose of curiosity, a bit of free time, and alarmingly easy access to the Tor browser. And then one night, he messages me. I saw a site. I don't know if it was real, but there was a girl. For rent. For crypto. It all started when he and some friends, fellow enthusiasts of creepy stuff, were searching for easy access to secrets and stumbled upon a suspicious link in a Telegram channel. It was captioned with something like, "The most vile thing you'll see this week." A few clicks later, they were on a page inside Tor that looked like a forum. One of the posts had a strange title, just numbers. Inside were a few sentences. F/12, blonde, Euro, private, delivery by next Friday, Bitcoin only. It didn't feel like a creepypasta or a scam, because it was too technical, devoid of any theatrics, just a statement of fact, like a product page. At first, they decided it was fake. They mustered up the courage or foolishness to write back, to see what would happen. The response included a photo and a price, an offer to pay via a mixer. Was it real? Tim asked me. I didn't answer right away. I knew the probability was high, and once he knew, the world he had lived in until then would vanish. Only this one would remain my world. And frankly, it's not a very nice one. What Tim and his friends stumbled upon is just the tip of the iceberg. And what lies at the bottom is what I'm going to tell you about today. Because Tim is not an exception. And human trafficking is not a creepypasta, it's reality. The common perception of human trafficking often looks like a scene from an action movie. A black van, a bag over the head, transportation across a border. But the modern reality is much quieter and far more terrifying. In the internet age, slavery begins on Instagram, continues in messengers, and culminates in places where Google doesn't reach. Yes, the Darknet is far from the main platform. The majority of human trafficking cases still occur offline or through the open internet. But there are real documented cases of the Darknet being involved in the dark dealings of traffickers. They are horrifying. The main channels for recruiting victims are social networks, fake modeling agencies, and nanny job offers in Europe. In this context, the Darknet isn't the starting point of the crime, but part of the final phase, where they no longer make promises, but sell. Where the victim has already become merchandise, and the client clicks on a picture. Some listings on the Darknet are fakes, created for profit or as a trap. But there are others, verified, real. For example, on forums like DeepPaste, dozens of posts advertising the rental of people under 18 were documented. 44% of them specified exact age, region, and payment instructions. Some of the sellers engaged in genuine correspondence with potential clients. This data was later confirmed by experts from Stop the Traffic and Europol. The worst part isn't even that this appears. The worst part is that someone responds and pays. It all starts with a simple message on social media. Want to earn money? Want to go abroad? Want to be a model? Next comes psychological pressure, debt, manipulation, and then the sale. No longer as a person, but as a product. The Darknet is the final stop. It's where anonymous auctions take place, correspondence with clients, payment. All via crypto, Bitcoin, Monero. The going rate for a person starts at $800 per hour. For full ownership up to $60,000. If you have $2,000 and a lack of conscience, you already have access to a body. Before we move on to real cases, let me know in the comments what you'd like me to talk about in the next video. When you first see such ads on the Darknet, it seems like a prank. Too absurd, too scary, too obvious. But it turns out, some of these pages are entirely real. Some of those who paid are real people. And some of those put up for sale will never return home. Publicly available examples exist of what such a marketplace looks like. Yes, on one closed website uncovered by Europol, hundreds of traffickers posted ads for the services of victims, men and women of all age groups. The rate for renting a person was $800 to $2,000 per hour, depending on the victim's age and skills. Moreover, on this same site, you could buy a person permanently. A houseboy or housegirl sold for $20,000 to $60,000. The next case is something that is truly mind-boggling. In 2019, the site Welcome to Video was exposed, a massive darknet resource with over 250,000 registered users. It contained child exploitation material. The investigation revealed that many videos were filmed by the administrator and his accomplices themselves, meaning victims were abducted and forced to film for the subsequent sale of the content. The criminals used Bitcoin for payment and uploaded the videos to a private server in South Korea. For access to certain categories, users paid the equivalent of up to $3,500 in cryptocurrency. Following the operation, over 300 people were arrested in 38 countries. There are also isolated cases. For example, in 2017, British model Chloe Ayling was kidnapped in Italy. She thought she was going to a photo shoot. In reality, she was lured to an abandoned building, injected with something, and informed she would be put up for auction on the Darknet as a slave. The criminals presented themselves as the Black Death Group, allegedly involved in human trafficking. Although part of this pseudo-mafia turned out to be a fake, the fact of the Darknet blackmail was real. They showed her the ad, the description, and the price. The auction was supposed to start on Tuesday, starting price $300,000 in Bitcoin. This isn't Tinder, this is a real menu of death. The woman was lucky. After 6 days in captivity, she was released near a consulate, and the perpetrator was soon arrested. An Italian court sentenced the kidnapper to 16 years in prison. The investigation found that the so-called Black Death Group did indeed publish photos of female captives on the Darknet, putting them up for sale, though some of this material turned out to be staged. And in 2021, US law enforcement exposed a deranged individual. One hesitates to call her a mother who was seeking clients in a Darknet chat to exploit her own children, accepting payment in Bitcoin. As you can see, the victims in such schemes are often the most vulnerable segments of the population. In 2022, during a hackathon, law enforcement agencies from 20 countries analyzed 114 online platforms and identified 25 Ukrainian victims who had been recruited via the internet, as well as 11 human traffickers, some of whom operate on Darknet forums. These cases largely involve the exploitation and sale of people, particularly those made vulnerable by the war in Ukraine. This isn't just some Reddit lore. These are real sites with price lists for human lives, complete with discounts for repeat orders. And you know what the irony is? Most of the clients are from developed countries. The US, Germany, Italy, and yes, some paid by card. That's right, with a credit card. But on the other side of the screen, there are predators too. For example, Memex, a system developed by DARPA, the US Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, that scans the Darknet and tracks such things. Europol and other agencies launch honeypot sites, fake platforms that lead on potential buyers and record their actions. Remember Besa Mafia? The clients there also thought they'd never be found. Now they're reading the Bible in solitary confinement. Whether the forum Tim stumbled upon was real or a honeypot is hard to say. The fact that the cops didn't bust down his door the next day doesn't prove anything. He had a huge falling out with his friends, but eventually convinced them to report the discovery to the police. Whether the authorities took it seriously or just filed his report away, I don't know. All I know is that after that, Tim deleted Tor, cleared his cache. But what he saw can't be unseen. What he read will stay with him forever. That's why I run this blog. To tell the truth, to separate myths from reality. Subscribe if you're brave enough to endure it. The Darknet isn't science fiction or a fantasy. It's a place where the price tag on a human is as real as the payment options on Amazon. Click, and before you, an abyss. And someone has already fallen into it before you.